All right, Aaron Slater here with Relentless Defender Apparel. We're in the Relentless Defender Studios, and I have a special guest today, Rick Grassi. Rick Grassi is a good friend of mine, good friend of Relentless Defender. I've known Rick for many, many years. He was a police officer down here in the Houston area where I was a police officer, and a lot of the other people that work here at Relentless Defender. Rick, if you will, introduce yourself, and where were you a police officer at?
Yeah, my name is Rick Grassi, retired police officer now.
Okay.
No hard feelings right there. Tomball, I was a police officer, started my career in Lufkin, Texas, just East Texas, and I finished it out in the last 23 years with Tomball.
Okay, and Tomball, so you did 23 years at Tomball.
23 years at Tomball, yep.
And essentially, and I've known you, so I'm just asking the question, and for the audience, what'd you retire as?
Captain of patrol operations.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about your career at Tomball.
You know, it was good. I actually started in 1998.
Oh, me and you.
Right there together, brother.
That's right, brother.
Started in 98. I got there from Lufkin, looking like a young buck. As soon as I walked in the door and I got the job, they asked me if I'd ever worked narcotics before, which is pretty interesting. I said, yeah, what do you got? They asked me if I'd do my first year in Tomball High School as an undercover student. So
Bullshit.
That shit you can't make up.
Okay.
So I did the entire first year.
So you thought you were 21 Jump Street.
Dude, I passed. I actually passed the classes. I was proud of myself. I mean, I was
For the first time.
I was the only dad that came home and put his own report card on the refrigerator. I was pretty badass, man. I didn't make A's and B's, but I passed. I was good to go. And so that started the career out there. And I, to be honest with you, had through the entire time at Tomball, had really progressive leadership, man. You know, and the leaders out there were really interested in developing their people who wanted to be developed, and I was just kind of on the fast track. So I started there in '98, and then just moved forward. And in 2007, was actually promoted to the level of captain. I went through corporal, sergeant. I was able to go to the FBI National Academy, one of the youngest Americans at that point.
That's the year I was promoted to lieutenant. We didn't have captains.
Look,
for
that's
real.
good. You didn't have captains. See, we're there, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, we're there. And then we probably got the same ending. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But go ahead.
No worries. So it's really progressive leadership, man. Got 2007, got promoted. I mean, just fast tracking, going through it. Really progressive organization, loving it, man. Loving the leadership. Everybody was on the same page, man. The city management, the police chief, all the commanders, we were good to go. And the chief at that time had retired and actually went to Kyle Police Department out there close to Austin. And we were fortunate enough to get a really innovative chief from LAPD. And he just took those strings right where he left off and just kept moving. Took a lot of the things and knowledge that he knew from LAPD that was a little more progressive than we were out here at the time, and just really just filled in the gaps. And he really rebuilt that organization to just top notch. And he did such a good job. He ended up getting promoted to assistant city manager into city management. But then that's where the kind of leadership stopped. You know, after you've been in the industry for that long with progressive leadership for that long, then we end up getting a more antiquated chief with different leadership style. I mean, and really just kind of backpedaled the organization to where we were. I mean, really just put the brakes on. And, you know, after working with this gentleman for several years, I kind of just found myself bored. It's like, you know, everything that we've worked towards that we wanted to reach for, all the goals that we had, we kind of put pause on them and kind of backtrack. So I kind of felt like we just stood still and everybody else was either catching up or moving past us. So at that given point, you know, when you're waking up every day and you're like, this ain't what it used to be, or I just don't have the passion, the drive that I used to have. You know, I just decided one day to pass the torch, and maybe I just go ahead and retire and maybe pass the torch to somebody else who can do what I didn't feel like doing anymore.
Yeah, we definitely have a very parallel career, I can tell you that, because I worked for a very progressive police chief as well. And then I always thought of myself as a very progressive leader moving forward and those types of things. But then if you get the wrong chief, they're going to hold you back. And when they hold you back, it holds the entire department back. And ultimately that tends to just ruin morale. And that's, I've always said, the problem across the nation in law enforcement, everybody tries to claim and blame the media. I don't think it's the media. The media has always hated cops. I think the worst plague in law enforcement right now is bad leadership.
That I'm telling you right now, that absolutely twisted the entire organization. It was so evident, but not only internally, externally. You know, Tomball's got a pretty hefty population, about 15,000, but a daily population of business leaders and stuff. It was so transparent that the leadership within the organization changed that it was it didn't only affect the internal components, the entire city was affected by it. And, I was still good friends with the city manager at the time, who was the police chief. And it was even transparent to him. He's seen it. But, he was just so hold off. But, man, you can only hold off for so long before you could just, it's just when you're losing it. And, so we had over a 50% turnover rate in the 5 years the guy was there. So that goes, like you're talking about morale. Morale in any law enforcement organization is huge, bro. And so it was just spiraling down. So I just didn't want to be a part of it anymore at that point.
So you did some side business while you were a cop at Tomballs, all right?
I did.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, yeah. So several years ago, probably about 10 years ago, started an auction business. And that all started from the FBI National Academy. You go there, you have an auction. That's how you raise money for a legacy. Well, I kind of played the role of an auctioneer there. And I enjoyed it so much that when I got it out, I kind of started doing auctions for different people, different nonprofit organizations. And I was kind of challenged one day, and someone asked me, "Hey, are you licensed?" And I'm like, "I didn't know there's such thing as a damn auction license." I'm like, yeah, man, I got a life. Who the hell would do this without a license? And so I started looking it up and realized there was a Class B misdemeanor for operating an auction without a license.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Well, neither did I. And so I went and got a license. Now I am licensed.
Well, statute of limitations.
There you
now,
go.
so
We're
it
done,
doesn't
bro.
matter.
I'm done. Hey, I'm out. And so I went and got a license. So, yeah, I started an auction business, and then we really progressed it. And we went online, and we started doing estate auctions and stuff like that. We were liquidating people's assets. But then we also built a good partnership with a lot of nonprofit organizations throughout the city of Houston, really the state of Texas, all over, and where we would conduct their benefit auctions for them during their annual galas and fundraisers. And we were making really the money they deserved to make, being what they were giving back to the community and stuff like that. So whenever I retired, I just stuck with the auction industry and just did that full time. And so that's where I made a living after that.
And just remind me on this, because we're going to come back to that, because one of the parts that I want to talk about during this interview with you is life after law enforcement, and we'll get into detail about that a little bit. But you did do auction full time for about how long?
Little over a year full time, but the business we had that running. Had several employees running it for about 5 years.
Okay.
And then after retirement, I did it full time for about a year and a half, and that was my only job.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. I think everybody in the audience is wanting to know, how the hell do you learn how to do that fast talk?
You just have to be ADD and not take your Adderall.
Okay, well, show us.
All right, here we go. Who's going to be 1,000? Thou now 12 and a half, and a 15, 70, 50, but 2, thou now 22 and a half, but 25, 27, 50. Just like that.
It makes me want to bid.
You can do it, bro.
Yep,
Hey, you can do this. It's easy as that.
No, it's not. I just need probably snort some cocaine or something.
Well, I'm not a cop anymore. Did you want some? I'm just joking.
Yeah, exactly. So you enjoy? You still do that at all?
I do. No, that's actually, I flew down here this weekend now. We'll go back into that. I now reside in Colorado, but there's still a handful of organizations here that just hold my heart. And so I actually fly back. This will be my fourth weekend in a row to fly back to Texas just to work with these nonprofit organizations as our auctioneer for the benefits.
Well, and I already know the answer to some of these questions. You do the auction for the Relentless Defender Foundation as well.
Right.
And you did it for the very first gala that we ever had, and you're going to be doing it next year and years to come.
Right.
And I can tell you this, that Rick is a pro at getting people to spend money. He just is excellent at it. He gets the bids up, and he works the crowd, and you do an amazing job every single time I've ever seen you. And I've been to many auctions, and fortunate for the nonprofits that you do for, but unfortunately for my pocketbook, I've spent way money because you keep on pushing me, and I'm like, damn it, dude. So yes, you do an excellent job for those nonprofits.
Well, I absolutely love when you're in the audience, because I know all I got to do is challenge you, and you're definitely
Yeah,
big.
well, I'm gonna stop going to the auctions that you're running. Let's move on real quick. So you ended up moving to Colorado.
I did.
Why?
I was out here kind of just for the last 25 years, man. I was just retired. My kids have grown, moved out. I was running the auction business, and at some given point, I just realized I'm getting older. So I just made a choice in life. I'm like, do I want to die here? Do I want to just spend the rest of my life in Texas, or do I want to just explore a little bit? And so I decided plan B, just explore. So I really narrowed it down between North Carolina and Colorado, visited them both, and I really chose Colorado because of the economy there. And just on a whim, I found a place online. I owned an auction company, so I sold everything in my house over the auction and sold my house and just found a place online, moved to Golden, Colorado. Never even been to the place. When I got there, the keys weren't the Mac.
Wow. Seriously?
Seriously, brother. I never even seen it. I found it online. It actually looked like it did online, so I was good to go. And just moved there and just figured it out.
Okay. That's a bold move in life.
It was a bold move, brother.
You know what's even bolder? Moving from Texas to Colorado.
Well, know what's even more bold than that is trying to be a Texas guy, is being a Texas cop, and then moving to Colorado to try to be a Colorado cop.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So I did.
So you were at Texas for over 20 years being a cop, right?
Right.
And then you moved from Texas policing, which for the viewers that are outside of Texas and are cops outside of Texas, it really is a different policing mentality, okay? Then you went to Colorado, and let's talk about your experience as a Colorado police officer.
Yeah, so I went to Colorado, got Colorado Post certified. They transitioned my license from Texas. You have to take a couple tests. And, I got my Colorado policing license, and I went to be a cop in a city called City of Blackhawk, Colorado. It's a beautiful casino resort, vacation resort, really nice. But it's really, we talked about this a little bit earlier, man, it's totally different being a Texas police officer than going to a more liberal state like Colorado, to put it lightly, and trying to enforce laws that you wonder if they even exist. I mean, it's really tough coming out here with the Texas hands-on policing to go into Colorado and just the laws that are there. The state of Colorado got rid of their qualified immunity. So if you do something or if somebody perceives what you do is wrong, they can absolutely sue you individually, and everything you've worked for, all your retirement, your house, everything you work for can be on the shoulders of a jury to figure out, whether or not they feel like this person deserves what you've worked hard for.
The jury of the liberal people.
That's it. And after doing that, I did that for about 2 years out there, bro. And it took about 12 months to realize I probably shouldn't be here. And it's not because, I actually, great organization, first female chief I ever had, probably one of the best leaders I ever had. I got promoted pretty quick in the process. I made it to, rank of sergeant with about 6 months out there. And it was a good time. But I'm telling you, it is totally different being a police in Texas than being a police in Colorado. And I realized pretty quick that this probably is not the right career path for me.
So you did 2 years there?
I did 2 years.
Okay. We were talking a little bit earlier off camera, some of the craziness that goes on in Colorado. Like down here in the state of Texas, we take narcotics serious. Cocaine, heroin, meth.
What do you mean you take it serious? Oh, the law.
The law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we take the law serious.
I mean, I didn't. He's like, do we take it serious? I'm like, well, we don't joke around out there. We're pretty serious when we take it too.
Yeah. But tell us, policing in Colorado compared to Texas, what was different for you as far as enforcement of law?
Well, in general, marijuana is legal in Colorado. So, it's fine. It is what it is. But everywhere you go out there, bro, you might as well not wear cologne because when you leave, you're going to smell like weed. But even the more stringent laws, like, say, methamphetamine. Here in Texas, a trace is a case. You find somebody got a pipe, you can swab the pipe, it turns blue, you got a felony, right? In Colorado, you can have up to 4 grams of methamphetamine, 4 grams, and that's only a citable offense. That's it. So if I come to you and you're, we do everything, I get consent to search, pat you down, I fill out a bag of 3.5 grams of meth, literally, I will just cut you a summons and send you on your way.
That's crazy.
That's it. And that goes for many drugs, cocaine, methamphetamine, even all of your dangerous drugs, all your pills and stuff like that. The laws are just so minimal that it's hard to really control the meth population. We were literally in the city of Blackhawk, like I said, we were a vacation resort, casino resort. If we weren't popping two things of Narcan a week, bringing people back to life that had overdosed every week, at least twice a week, then I'm lying to you. It's
okay.
Crazy.
Well, how often were you doing that here in Texas?
I think in my career in Texas, I might have used Narcan one time.
In my career in Texas, and I worked undercover narcotics for 6 years, I never used Narcan one time. I never even heard of a cop using Narcan,
No,
needing to use Narcan.
I think we had it. I think I mean, used it one time. And I'm not even sure if the person was overdosed. It didn't work. But but hey, I can say I used it there. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, but out there is so, and I don't know if you've ever seen this stuff work. And if you
No.
haven't, if you're in law enforcement and you used Narcan before, then you know absolutely what I'm talking about. I mean, literally, you would go to these scenes, whether it be in the restroom, the casino, or the parking garage. These people are out. I'm talking no pulse, blue, no breath, no anything. You start your CPR process, and then you initiate your first dose of Narcan, and you keep going. And it is like once it hits, it is like rebirth, man. It is like they come back from the dead. They're up, awake, alert, you know, and it's kind of scary in a sense. I ain't even bullshitting you. It's kind of scary, but it is that common out there. I mean, because there's so much fentanyl out there. They say Union Station out there in Denver is like the hub of all the fentanyl, and that's what you're dealing with out there. And I think it's because there's no doubt the laws are so minimal. That's why a lot of people say they moved to Colorado because of the laws.
Well, hopefully it doesn't turn that way in Texas anytime soon. What are you doing now?
I'm in the mortgage industry.
Okay, that's different.
It is. No,
How'd you end up doing that?
You know, I've always had a kind of a niche for numbers. I went to school. I got my bachelor's in finance. I got my master's with emphasis in finance. I've always liked the numbers game. I always liked the investment game, the numbers game, and stuff like that. But really thought I'd get into it eventually, but I just didn't know what part of the industry I wanted, whether it be investments or mortgage or car finance, whatever it might be. And I have some really good friends here in Texas that actually own AMCAP Mortgage, and I didn't know what that meant. I own a mortgage company. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, you got nice cars and stuff like that. You do pretty well. But man, he owned a huge operation, and so literally just ran into him one day at a sports bar watching the Astros game. And he had asked me, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this?" We talked about it. I said, "No, I'm pretty good. Never really put any emphasis in it." And it wasn't before long when I was out there. I just reached out to him and said, "Hey, we talked about this, and what can you tell me about it?" He says, "I own a couple companies out there in the Denver area, actually Grand Junction." He says, "We have DBA. I got two brothers out there that are just badass, and they own a major mortgage." He says, "Why don't I hook you up with them, and they'll just kind of see if you're a good fit for them." And he did. And I talked to my boss, Ryer Hayward, who is just hands down badass. And kind of introduced myself to him. Never met him. He set up a little interview with another guy at a little bar we went to. Kind of got to know each other. About 8 beers later, I think I got the job, man. And so I got licensed to be a mortgage loan.
Oh, so you actually did it right this time. You got a license before you started practicing.
I
right?
did. Oh, yeah. No, this is a lot more than Class B misdemeanor, brother. You start doing mortgages without a license?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big time right there.
Okay.
And there's so many compliance. I think I got caught pretty quick.
Right.
And so, so I just started working with Major Mortgage and really just, retired. Actually, my last day was March of this year, but I started in October doing it pretty much full time, and I was working both jobs full time just to make sure I can make ends meet. I still got a family. Wanted to make sure I can still, pay the bills or not totally depend on my old lady to pay the bills. And but
Who's a cop as well, right?
she is, yeah. My wife's a detective in Littleton.
Okay.
She's been there, I want to say about 15 years.
Okay.
So she still loves it. 15 years, she's still loving things. She's a hell of a detective. Does a really good job. Never in a million years would I think I'd be married to a cop, but I fooled myself, man. She fooled me, I should say. So it's good to go.
Right.
And so, so after a while, I've been doing the mortgages, and wanted to make sure really the organization, Major Mortgage, I love their business model, their business philosophy. Wanted to make sure it was the right fit for me. And when I realized it was, and I built a relationship with my partners and the president of the company, I realized, this is where I want to be. So I started just kind of dove right into the mortgage industry, brother.
Explain what the mortgage industry actually is and what do you do on a daily basis, and just kind of give us a rundown.
Yeah, so the mortgage industry, basically, if you own a home, then you've been introduced to the mortgage industry. We are the industry that finances your home. So we basically look at each borrower, each customer, look at their financial status, look at their credit, look at their income, look at their debt, and we kind of figure out what's the best model for them, what's the best path for them to take if they want to become homeowners. And so basically, that's what we do, man. Is we help people become homeowners. And if they put in an application, they qualify. We'll tell them the best deal for them, the best option, whether it be conventional, whether it be a FHA, if they're veterans, whether it be VA. If you live in some rural area and you want to do USDA, we're going to find the best options for you. And if you apply and there's little things that you need to tweak up before you can be a homeowner, we're going to still stick with you the entire time. We're not kind of company that rubber stamps denial and says, okay, you're done, you don't qualify. We're going to walk you through the entire process and hold your hand and lead you into the right direction until you can get qualified for a home. And so that's what we do. We finance people's homes.
Okay. And you enjoy it?
Dude, I love it.
Why?
It's just, it's totally different. After you've been in law enforcement, I got a total of 27 years. Started when I was 21. Went straight into law enforcement from the Marine Corps. So I've always been in the public service. So although mortgage really doesn't seem like a public service, it kind of is. It's really just taking public service in a different direction. It's because, everybody that I come into contact with is that's my customer. It's I treat everybody with humanity, the utmost respect. Whether you're financing a $150,000 house or whether you're financing a $650,000 house, I get to treat you with the same utmost respect either way. Because whether it's 150 or 650, brother, that's your home, and I want to get you the keys to your castle because that's your castle. And so I absolutely love it. It's a good sense. It's still a public service. You're just serving people in a different way. And, I still got the passion for law enforcement, but, I've been doing it for a long time, and it was time to just kind of take a break from that path and just go into a different direction.
Let's talk about that for a second, because you and I both have left law enforcement, went into a different career field, doing something that's out of law enforcement in the private sector. And one of the things I get asked all the time, no matter where I'm at in the country, that are cops that are saying, hey, you know what, is there life after law enforcement? And my answer to them every single time is a grand old absolutely there is. And I think a lot of times what happens with cops is cops start looking at themselves as an identity, not as a job. And I get it, because I did too. And I understood. I was a cop 24/7, meaning that I thought about it, I lived it, I breathed it. Everything about police work is what my life was about. And I think it's the scariest thing to leave that identity and move on to something else and create another life. And it really is. And you and I think we're about the same age, right? You're 41?
I'm about 28. But
yeah, exactly. I was about to say the same.
Yeah, 28, but
no, I'm 45 and
I'm 48.
Okay, and we look good for 48, man.
Oh, thanks, brother.
But we're around the same age, and people think, well, you know what, starting a new life over is a very difficult thing. And in all reality, for me, when I started career outside law enforcement, it was almost a rejuvenation. It was almost like, man, I get to start over. I get to do something new. And but let's talk about your experience in it.
I think it's the fear factor. I think, like I said, I've been doing it since I was 21, which means every 2 weeks I got a paycheck. And I think that's what we get used to. And I think the fear is if you go work in the private sector for yourself or something like that, that paycheck might not be in that box every 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a fear factor of that part, because we get a sense of security that I'm going to get paid every 2 weeks. And it's that. I think that was one of the biggest steps that I had to realize. If I want to make money, I'm gonna have to go out and bust my ass and do it. I mean, I'm gonna have to hustle, because even in the mortgage industry, it's about the hustle, brother. I mean, there's not people knocking at my door, calling them and saying, "Hey, I need a loan. I need a loan." You got to go out and get what's yours, and then you got to build your name. You got to build your trust, and people are going to come to you eventually. Which they started doing that in just the time I've been there. But I also think what's important. I think you hit the nail on the head. Is we need to identify ourselves as human beings, not as cops. And I think that's where I was so stuck with for so long, is I was a cop. I mean, I got this uniform on, I got this vest on, because how many people wear a vest and bring a gun to work and you have to do, I'm a cop. And it took me a little while to realize that underneath this uniform is a human being just like anybody else, man. I'm a dad, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm all of this stuff. And not a cop. I mean, I chose law enforcement as a profession, and I loved it, and I did great at it. I'd give 110%, and I still have so much passion for it. But underneath all this is a human being who's no different than a garbage man, who's an Amazon, who screen print, anything. We're all just men that chose different professions. And so I think you hit it right there, man. You got to realize you're a human being, not a cop.
And as far as moving on as well, one of the things that I always kind of give an advice to is it's not really that difficult. In fact, when I got out of law enforcement, it almost felt like I was off parole. It almost felt like, hey, I can say what I want to say, do what I want to do now. I'm not representing somebody else. But moving on to not just out of law enforcement, the key to it is there's two aspects that you move on to. You can work for somebody else again, or you can work for yourself. And I think working for yourself in entrepreneurship, because essentially, as your own boss, which essentially you are in the mortgage business and as in the auctioneer business you did, one of the things that I think is the most difficult thing being your own boss is the discipline. Because as police officers, and one of the things that I would give advice to police officers, if you're going to start your own business, just know this. Nobody's telling you where to go. Nobody's telling you what call to take. Nobody's telling you what report you need to do. Everything is on your back. And you said it earlier about the risk aspect of it. The risk is yours, but the reward is yours. So the risk almost mirrors the reward. And one of the things that people ask me all the time, well, how many hours do you work? I mean, you're your own boss. You don't have to come in as much as you used to, right? I'm like, just know this. When you open up a business or you start some type of entrepreneurship aspect, you're going to work 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And that's what, when I was working, once I retired from law enforcement, went straight into the auction, I was at that warehouse every morning and literally had a bed set up over there. And so if it meant I'd work till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and I might catch 2 or 3 hours sleep and then have to be up at 6 a.m., we did it. I mean, it's not a Monday through Friday. Could it be? Sure. It can absolutely be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 if you want it to be. But our success rate would have been what it was. It's a hustle. And, when you're working for yourself, you don't have the opportunity to turn down business. You don't have really the opportunity to pick and choose. I guess you can, but it's a hustle, and you're trying to grow and develop. There's like when I walked around your shop today in comparison to the first time that I walked through it. I mean, you have done so much here, and it's because you're not remaining stagnant. You're not sitting still. Could you work 9 to 5 and have been the smaller operation you were when I first came and seen your business when you first opened it? Sure. But our goal is in entrepreneurship, our goal in business ownership is to expand and get be as large as we can handle. Though you don't want to grow beyond where your customer service is going to be minimal, but just get as big as you want to be and still be able to do the best you can for your customer service, do the best you can, And so you can make it 9 to 5, but if you want to be successful and you want to be the best you can, you're gonna have to bust your ass, bro.
Well, I think that also goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of this conversation. Progressive leadership grows, and progressive leadership can't stop thinking about growth, can't stop thinking about progressing, can't stop thinking about being the best. And I always use it in the apple tree theory is how do you know which apple tree is the best apple tree in an apple orchard? Well, it's an easy answer. You can look at the trees and you don't see shit. But it's the apples themselves that you produce is what makes it. And in leadership, it's the officers that they're focusing on, which are the apples of the tree. And if you have the best apples of the tree, you have the best apple tree in the orchard. Same thing with business as a whole. You're going to continue to grow your mortgage aspect. I'm going to continue to grow Relentless Defender for the purpose of servant aspect. And I believe, and I've known you for a long time, you getting in the mortgage industry absolutely is a servanthood aspect. It's a servanthood business because cops out there, for example, if you work at the niche of getting cops in houses through mortgages, that's a scary thing for people to do. To buy a house, and that's their biggest investment that they're going to make. And to go buy a house and not knowing the ins and outs and kind of finding someone that they can trust to work with them directly and sit there and say, hey, you got this issue with your credit aspect. Let's work through this, okay? Let's figure this out. Maybe you need to go do this, or maybe you need to go do that. But I think that having somebody that they can relate with, somebody that they can sit there and say, hey, I've been through this as well. I know these things. I want to work with you on this. I think finding someone like you is probably the epitome of what would bring that comfort level to another point to where they say, hey, you know what, I really, really think we can do this.
And that's why I said in the beginning, why it took me a little while to make this transition full time is because I wanted to make sure I was working for the right leadership. I met these brothers. I met my boss, Ryer, and kind of talking about their organizational philosophy, their business model, and I want to make sure they're succeeding. And they've been in business for a long time, and I mean, if you've seen their lifestyle, they're succeeding. But really wanted to see how I can incorporate my passion, which would be, as a veteran or retired law enforcement, and kind of incorporate that into the mortgage industry. How can I be in the mortgage industry and still help veterans and still help first responders? And when I was talking to my boss, and he absolutely made it clear that he backs the blue. And so, we came up with some different ideas and said, okay, what are you thinking? And first, we'll go back to what you said in the beginning, but creating a comfort level for people. I mean, we all know cops trust cops in an aspect. You know what I mean? Cops, we're a little sketch of a lot of people. We don't like to give them all our personal information, but there is a certain comfort level when I tell somebody, I'm retired law enforcement. So, and you're a cop, so let's see what we can do. And so in that pre-qualification process, there's no judgment. I mean, are we going to run some personal information? Sure, we're going to run your credit, because to get a house, you have to have decent credit. What's decent? Decent subjective. I mean, we can get you qualified with 580 credit score in some situations. But am I going to, run your credit to find out your credit history, to find out? Sure, I'm going to do that. Am I going to judge based on the thing I see? Absolutely not. But what I will do is I will tell you, you know what? Let's look and see what we have to do to get this number a little higher to where it needs to be, and we can get you a house. That's what I love about Major Mortgage. We fund our own loans. So it's not like we're having to share your information with everybody else to see who's going to fund you. We fund our own loans in-house. And so once I take the information and I look at this, if I know you're going to qualify, then, I'll tell you right here, you're good to go. If there's things we need to work on, I'm going to tell you how to get the things done so I can get you qualified. We're going to look at your different income. We're going to go through it to say, okay, do you work off duty? Do you claim your off duty? We can use that to count towards some of your income. Are you on disability? Do you have VA benefits? All of that stuff. We're going to use this. I mean, I'm going to go through everything to make sure I'm giving you the 100% attention I need to give you as a borrower. From there, we're going to look at your debt, and then we're going to see how your debt correlates with your income. It's called the debt-income ratio. And we're going to, if it's a little high, I'm going to say, okay, maybe we can pay some of these little things off right here to minimize it so we can get you qualified for a house. And then in the end, that's my job, is to say, okay, Slate, you want a house, this is what you're looking for. I can get it done with this. And so, but once again, it goes back to us being self-funded. We're all in-house as well. So once I forward your file to the processor, she's looking at it, and we're talking Queen Julia is her name, because that lady, she's Queen Julia, and if she's watching this, she's gonna smile, but she knows ain't nobody jacking with her. Okay, so file goes to her, and then if she has any questions whatsoever, she's gonna pick up the phone and call me. She's gonna email me. She's gonna text me and say, "Hey, I'm working on this. Can we get this?" And it's that easy. It's not like going through a bank where I'm going to take your file in Houston, I'm going to forward it to Austin. Austin's going to send it to Dallas for approval. If they have any questions, they're going to have to send it back to, we're doing it right there real time. The underwriting department, the setup department, the decisions are made right there in-house. And if there's any questions whatsoever, we can pick up the phone and say, hey, can you explain this for me? And we're going to work it out. We're not just going to rubber stamp denial or approval. We're going to work things out and make sure that if you're qualified for their home, we're going to get it for you. We're going to give you the best service you can get.
Now, you called me about, I don't know, probably been about 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. You approached me with something. Why don't we talk about that right now?
Yeah. Yeah, so, once again, our passion is pretty transparent. I'm a cop 110%. Whether I wear the badge or not anymore, I am a cop 110%. And I still have a passion for those that serve. Veterans, first responders, whether you're a cop, even firefighters.
Oh, man. Absolutely. Yeah, even firefighters. I agree.
Police, fire, EMS, all of that stuff. I've got a passion for that. And when I approached Ryer about it and said, look, how can I incorporate this? And he said, just come up with an idea. What do you think? And I told him, I said, listen, I got a buddy who even when you were starting the foundation, I remember we showed up for your board meetings and stuff like that to kind of just input and stuff like that. And I said, listen, he is 100% dedicated to law enforcement. I see what his foundation, what his organization does for the heroes who have fallen or sacrificed or given their life or was injured in the line of duty. And I want to give to that. I want to see how I can help him. I want to help these cops that that sacrifice, give the greatest sacrifice while trying to serve a community. Sometimes who really don't even give a shit. And so we kind of put things together, and I said, what if we created a platform for Relentless Defender, that if somebody goes through this platform just to apply for a loan and they get a loan, that for everybody who goes through this platform to get a loan to refinance, whether it be VA, conventional, USDA, FHA, that we will donate $500 to from every loan to the Relentless Defender Foundation. And he's let me tell you, that's the difference between corporate world and being a law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Within a day, I got with our marketing department, and they developed this website. It's www.supportrelentlessdefender.com, and right there, it's the platform to anybody that wants to get a loan. And the good thing about it is you don't have to be a first responder. So if you know anybody that needs a loan or something like that, anybody that goes to this platform and gets a loan with Major Mortgage, we will contribute $500 per loan to the Relentless Defender Foundation.
And to me, that just continues your whole understanding of service. And let me repeat that, by the way. It's www.supportrelentlessdefender.com. So all they do is they log in, or they go to that website, they fill out their pre-application or information, and then they get started from there.
That's it. You just go to the website, www.supportrelentlessdefender.com.
What happened was
that auction voice, bro.
Yeah, your auction voice started kicking in.
Support. No. All right. So that was it. So you just got to go there, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You'll see there, it's got your flag, it's got your logo on it, it's got my ugly mug on it, and it'll just tell you, the information. And here's the good thing about it is if you don't want to go on there and fill out the application, you don't have to fill out the application right there. If you just want to talk about mortgage, man, if you just want to be a homeowner and you just have some questions, basic questions about, hey, do you think I'd qualify? I got this credit score. I got this. Before I got into the mortgage industry, brother, I always thought it was so hard to qualify. I bought a couple houses before, and I'm a veteran. There's no mortgage lender that's ever even told me about my VA benefits. So it's crazy. So before I got into this industry, I thought it was so hard. It's not that hard to be a homeowner. But if you really have somebody you can trust and that's willing to sit down with you and talk to you, just text or just give me a call and say, look, this is what I got. I don't know if it's going to stop me, but you think I got a shot at it? I will work with everybody. So if you just go to that and you got all my information out there, you got my email, you got my phone number, this is not a 9-to-5 business neither. You can call me weekends, nights, I don't care. If you just have a question, you want to figure it out, you give me a call, and we're going to get you. We'll walk through the entire process. If you're qualified, we will get your mortgage. I can guarantee that. And in the process, if you do that, then I'm helping my passion as well, brother, because I see what you do. Now, this is your time to be on the highlight here. I've seen what your organization does. And I've seen you write big checks at big events, and I just see just the passion that you have for law enforcement. And I love it because I totally get it. There's situations where, you think about it. Like I said earlier, what other job do you have to put a vest on and carry a gun to go to work? What other job, and even though you don't think of it all the time, but is there a possibility that you don't come home? I remember in June of 2015, just regular routine patrol, and I got into a shitstorm, and my kids had already lost their mom in 2011. So it was just me and my kids, bro. And so if I wouldn't have been on the winning end of that, what would have happened to my family? And I got to tell you, it is a little sense of support, a little sense of relief, knowing that there's organizations like yours that, although they can't take away all the hurt and take away all the pain, but are there to help those kind of people, to help the families, to make them actually realize that someone genuinely gives a shit. And that's what I think about your organization, that you guys are so genuine about what you do and about your passion that I absolutely want to be a part of it, brother. Are you crying? Are you crying?
No, I'm about to, man. You got me tearing up. No, I see you tearing up too, bro.
I yawn, bro. I yawn.
Yeah. And I absolutely thank you, man. I do, and more so than anything, I cherish our friendship, our relationship. It was almost since the day you and I met, it was just kind of a kickoff, and I think there's a lot of it's because we're very similar in personality. I wish you'd move back down here to Texas and get away from all the liberalism.
Hey, I'll tell you what,
Colorado,
we've talked
man.
about it before, brother.
Yeah,
Talked about it before.
And you know, you tell your wife we got plenty of jobs down here too, and I guarantee you we could find a lateral that she can come right in and be a detective. But and if you're serious about that, and she says, hey, let me know because I do know people. Okay.
Well, man, I don't know. I've seen that. You know, Texas cops, Texas female cops are mean. I don't want to know if I want to turn her into that mean cop there.
I think all female cops are mean, man.
You would know, right?
Yes. You remember, I'm in the same situation.
I got you, brother.
So let me just recap, guys. You're interested in getting a mortgage. There is no better person than Rick to go to, and let me reiterate what it is www.supportrelentlessdefender.com. He's even put it out there for you. If you have questions, you have concerns, you just want to learn a little bit more about it. He's opening up his door and his time to sit there and work with you guys. I can tell you that and I've been through home buying situations, those types of things, and I've been I've been a young home buyer. I've been a home buyer many times in my lifetime, but being even a young home buyer, sometimes it can be very scary because you don't know where you're doing, how you're going to do it, and you just kind of want that comfort level of knowing somebody's going to walk you through that deal. So he's opened up his door. Know that you got a friend from the veteran world, from law enforcement world, from the service world, and just know that if you need help and you're looking at getting a home and starting a life, I would recommend 100% go to Rick first and get this ball rolling. And your cool thing about it is you know that you're doing twofold. You get the mortgage loan. He's going to donate $500 from that mortgage loan to the Relentless Defender Foundation, and you guys already know what we do with the money between the business and the foundation. We've donated over $2 million to first responder causes, fallen officers that have been injured, serious chaotic situations in their lifestyles. So what we do is help law enforcement. Rick, thank you for flying down from Colorado.
No worries, brother.
And a producer tells us to turn the phone off, and here goes his phone.
Hey, just want to throw this out there too.
Okay.
Is most states offer down payment assistance programs.
Okay.
So don't let the fact that you don't have, especially now times when the houses are the market's going crazy and things like that, and people, they're starting to think about 3%, 3.5% down. So they're like, I just don't have the money to put down. Don't let that stop you. Most states offer down payment assistance program. Hell, Texas has even got the Homes for Heroes program. So the state will give you either forgivable second mortgages, grants to help you with your down payment.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you don't. I mean, if people I don't have the $12,000, $20,000.
How do you qualify for that?
There's going to be certain things, credit scores and stuff like that, some income stipulations and things of that nature. But basically, just same things. You reach out to me. We'll take a look at your applications. It's a really easy qualification process. There's different ones in each state. I can tell you Colorado's got a CHAFA program that I use all the time. And basically they're giving people 4%, whether it be forgivable or it's repayable upon the sale of the home. So you don't have to pay anything for it the entire time you own the home. It's only repayable upon the sale of the home. And so people are buying these $400,000 homes a couple of years ago. They're now valued at $700,000. They're selling them, and then they're going to have to pay that 4% on the $16,000 back that they initially got for free from the government. They didn't have to pay any interest or nothing on it. But there's other programs in Texas that it's either forgivable, or you're never going to have to pay it back, or it's in the form of a grant. But they'll give you 2, 3, 4, 5% down payment assistance towards your home. That in many cases, it's forgivable. And so don't let the fact that you don't have the money to put down steer you away from trying to buy a home. Give me a call. We'll look at the different programs in the different states. We are licensed in 45 different states across the United States. We can get you taken care of. So don't let that little stuff like there fade you away, because there's programs, even national programs, that can help you out and will get you into a home. You know what I mean? There's still going to be some qualifying factors, but let's walk through those together, and we'll get you into a house, man.
All right. Well, Rick, thank you for your service.
Thank you, brother.
Well, thank you for your veteran service and your police service, and thank you for continuing to live your legacy to help others, even in the private sector.
It's my honor, brother.
God bless you, brother. And guys, again, Last, www.supportrelentlessdefender.com. Start your mortgage today. And even if you're just looking for advice, thank you guys. And as always, stay relentless and God bless each of you.